Going over a project, fairly new project, it's funded by CNPq, called Prefogo, taking place in the Brazilian Cerrado. The PI of the project is Carini Cloudberg, up in Minas Gerais, in Belo Horizonte. And it's using, the plan is to use JEDI data, Sentinel imagery, hyperspectral and LiDAR data from UAVs, working with Evan Broadbent, and TLS data on the ground. So multi-scale measurements, the kind of projects I love. Again, this is in the Cerrado, and it's, my understanding, the second biggest biome vegetation area in Brazil, shown here. And this is the most diverse of the savanna biomes globally. So it's a hotspot of diversity with over 800 species of trees. It counts for 21% of Brazil. There's the area. And fire is an important element of this biome, as in all savanna biomes. And it has been altered by human activities, that fire regime. So we just got through, I guess, the peak period of burning, which is typically September in the Cerrado. Little different, at least recently, from the Amazonian situation, which has gotten so much attention in the media, where the peak actually occurred in August. And then the aim of this project is to map fuels, and by doing that, then use those fuel maps as inputs into fire behavior simulations in the Cerrado. And then that knowledge can be used to help inform fire management. Also, the intention is to look at biodiversity, try to preserve that, and improve local communities in these protected areas. So, the Cerrado is diverse. The strategy for capturing that diversity was to sample in 5 different Cerrado vegetation types, shown here along this gradient. And 4 sites were selected for the field measurements, for the TLS collections and the UAV collections, indicated by these 4 stars. And this is then capturing the range of vegetation structural conditions across the Cerrado, between grass-dominated and forest. So this is the example of the most open, the grassland condition. Here's another condition that they sampled, a third condition, 4th condition here, it looks to be the thickest, and then the last one here. I've only been to the Cerrado once myself on my first trip to Brazil. I'm not going to pretend to really know the biogeography of these different types as well as probably most of you in this room, but it seems like a reasonable strategy to at least capture broadly the vegetation diversity and structural conditions. Okay, so the step 1 is to do the fuel measurements on the ground. So they have finished that ground sampling in 72 sample plots across that gradient where they measured fuel loads. So by fuel load, I mean vegetation biomass, focusing on the flammable material. And that's quantified usually in tons per hectare. So the 3 components that they're measuring are the canopy component, the tree crowns, the surface fuels on the ground, and then those ladder fuels, which are the hardest to characterize in the field, but that's what allows flames to go from a surface fire up into the crowns for torching behavior or crown fire behavior. Their sample area is 30 meters by 30 meters in this layout here. So my understanding is the tree measurements are being collected at this larger plot scale above some certain size threshold. I'm not sure what that threshold is. The surface fuels are being collected in these 5 smaller subplots, and then the ladder fuels in these kind of belt transects. Total fuel then would be the sum of these components. And they're not harvesting the trees out there. They're actually collecting surface fuel samples and ladder fuels, bagging them up and taken to a lab to weigh them. But the tree measurements are being collected allometrically for fuel estimates. So here's just a picture of them clipping and bagging the surface fuel loads. And then the other component of the field work has been the UAV data collection using Evan's Gator Eye system. Then the scale of those measurements, you saw the 30 by 30 meter plot, that's closely corresponds with the scale of a Jet-eye footprint. So the idea here is to associate fuel conditions in plots with Jet-eye type data. Right now, since Jet-eye data are not available yet, they're using simulated Jet-eye data, but soon those real Jet-eye data will be available. So here's a couple pictures of the UAV systems that have been used. This one here, and here's the other one with the Velodyne. I'm not too knowledgeable of the technical characteristics of these, but I'm sure Evan is. And so the field data collection's been done. That's going to be the next step then of summarizing the field measurements and then processing all the Gator Eye data that have been collected to start to develop some predictive models for the fuel loads from the point cloud data so that they can then scale it up to the Jet-eye data. And then the next step will be to interpolate between those Jet-eye footprints with image data. The plan is to use Sentinel image data. And then the third objective of this project, looking farther ahead, is then feeding those once you can map them as a continuous layer, feeding those inputs into fire behavior models. And the plan is to use the stand fire model developed by Russ Parsons in Missoula, Montana. I have no knowledge of stand fire being used outside of coniferous forest, but that's the plan, is to use it in the Cerrado. Okay, and then they're also deriving point cloud data from structure from motion techniques from the Gator Eye data. And they're collecting hyperspectral data. So quite a suite of data sets. They're collecting all of these data pre-fire and then post-fire. And then just some pictures of the work they've done. So they have collected pre- and post-fire data at their sites. Here's pre- and post-fire pictures at one of those plots. And then here's the TLS scans of those pre- and post-fire conditions. And then here's a couple of pictures of pre- and post-fire digital area photography points, structure for motion methods. And finally, a picture of the team there's a lot of people involved with this project. This is kind of a clever way to present all of them. Evan is right there. There's Carlos, here's Carini. And I'm not sure if I know that guy, Franciel. I'm not sure who else. Maybe some of you are in there. Is anyone in this picture, to your knowledge? Okay. So yeah, not so much in the way of results yet. They've just done a lot of data collection. So I don't have results to share, but I thought I'd show you where they're at with this project at this time. And then finally here is Joachim, Carlos and Carini's son. I'm actually a godparent to him. So it's been a pleasure to work with him and to present this to you today to show the status of this project. And I'll try to answer questions.